possible COVID-19 case in country. Niugini suspends international flights. And IMR ramp up testing expansion.
This is National MTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Wednesday's news. Health Minister Jelta Wong has announced health authorities are investigating a probable cause of COVID-19 in Papua New Guinea. The 45-year-old man arrived in Port Moresby on the 13th of March and began showing symptoms of a flu and fever 24 hours later. It is understood the man travelled from Barcelona through to Singapore, Port Moresby, then to Lae.
Just after midday today, Health Minister Jelta Wong released this one-page statement. In it, Wong stated that Papua New Guinea has now a probable case of COVID-19. He said the 45-year-old man is understood to have come through Singapore from Madrid, Barcelona and Istanbul before coming to Lae via Port Moresby on the 13th of March. He presented flu symptoms and a fever after arriving in Lae and was taken to hospital. He has been quarantined and the department is waiting for test results from the Institute of Medical Research in Goroka. MTV's attempt to confirm details of initial rumors with Provincial Health Authority CEO were denied, with CEO Grant Muddle maintaining that PNG did not have a case as yet. Lead medical team members dealing with the crisis have also been ordered not to speak to the media. Minister Wong said the emergency response plan was activated and that included tracing all passengers who have come in contact with the man.
We are responsible to make sure that any of the previous destinations that our customers have been to or of certain nationalities, any of those government regulations that are in place are being implemented by the check-in staff. Now, normally they are staff of the home airline. So for Cairns, for example, the check-in staff are Qantas, and we give them a list of our requirements who can and can't be checked into that flight, and they apply that at the check-in area.
Yesterday, the government announced more measures, but stopped short of initiating a total ban on incoming flights. The delays have contributed a lot to public anger. Annette Cora, National MTV News.
Scaling down on its international flights, Air Niugini is all but maintaining its current schedule to only 3 transit locations and all domestic flights, while suspending international flights to other destinations as per the national government's latest instruction on measures to mitigate the risks of the spread of coronavirus or COVID-19. Speaking to MTV News earlier today, Air Niugini Managing Director Alan Milne said as per the government's instruction, Air Niugini is implementing changes to its international flight schedule, however maintaining flights to Singapore, Brisbane and Cairns. These changes are expected to take effect beginning Sunday, 22nd March 2020 and will continue for the next 2 weeks. Manila flights are currently being suspended until Monday, 13th April at the direction of the Philippines government, emphasizing that the health and safety of the people of Papua New Guinea, passengers and crew are always absolute priority. Air Niugini says it is conscious of the need to maintain the flow of essential goods into PNG, such as medicines and medical equipment, fresh vegetables and groceries for the supermarkets and spare parts for the domestic transport industry.
In those different countries, making sure that we apply them. Air Niugini has implemented a range of additional checks and procedures to make sure that, as I mentioned, our customers and our staff are our absolute #1 priority.
The Papua New Guinea Defence Force has been put on alert as the Health Minister formally declared the COVID-19 as a quarantinable disease under the country's health laws. On Monday, the National Security Council met to discuss additional control measures in light of the worsening crisis in Australia and surrounding countries.
Prime Minister James Marape announced yesterday that overseas flights from Hong Kong, Philippines, Japan, Sydney and Fiji will cease as of Sunday next week, and there will be controlled entry from Brisbane, Cairns and Singapore.
Most of you know, Port Moresby's Jackson's Airport is the only designated international flight airport of entry, and it will remain this way for commercial flights or private charter flights. And in those passengers inbound, 5 countries, passengers who are coming in from 5 countries, namely China, South Korea, Japan, Italy, and Iran. If any passengers come in from these areas, they must present to Air Niugini 14 days of quarantine and medical clearance associated with that quarantine activities, and then Air Niugini have been advised, and Air Niugini will give them clearance to board flight. And we are also working in partnership with airports that are.
Through a gazetted notice, the Health Minister, Jelta Wong, listed a series of actions supported by existing quarantine legislations, stating he was satisfied that the magnitude of the pandemic warranted the measures. The list of countries that fall under the 14-day pre-entry quarantine include 27 European member states.
Boris Johnson, he'll be holding a daily press conference.
Australia, where the majority of expatriate mine workers come from, has been excluded. Meanwhile, opposition leader Belden Nama has supported the call to deploy PNGDF soldiers to the international borders to ensure no one is crossing the borders.
There is lack of military presence in almost all parts of the border, of the land border, and I have reports from Vanimo that there are people still moving in and out illegally. It only clearly shows that we have a government that is not concerned about the safety of our people. You need to take tougher measures. If it means deploying 2 or 3 companies from the Defense Force. We have so many soldiers just hanging around Port Moresby, hanging around Lei, hanging around Wewak. This is the time. That's why I'm calling on the state of emergency. When you have a state of emergency, you will engage the services of the serving men and women.
Meanwhile, the effects of COVID-19 will be felt by economies around the world. In Papua New Guinea, airline companies are expecting a fall in revenue. Business houses are cutting on operational costs, and there are predictions of shortage in goods like hand sanitizers. Meanwhile, situation report from World Health Organization revealed that 4 new countries have reported suspected cases of coronavirus as of March 16th, and the total number of cases and deaths reported outside of China has overtaken the total number of cases reported in China. Teklagunga, National EMTV News.
The Lei District has been allocated 1 million kina to help with the COVID-19 operations in Lei. While announcing this commitment, Lei MP John Rosso said more awareness will be done in the city regarding COVID-19. Meanwhile, the Morbe COVID-19 response team are still awaiting funds requested from the National Health Department and provincial government following their budget submission.
The Lei District authorities are working on a budget plan following the allocation of 1 million kina by the Lei MP John Rosso. This will go towards assisting the COVID-19 response team both in Lei and in the province. The COVID-19 response team in Morbe submitted an initial budget of 15 million kina to the National Health Department and have also requested a 5 million kina budget from the provincial government. In an interview last week, members of the response team stated that they were still awaiting funds and have been operating with limited support. While the Department of Health has promised to build an isolation center in Morbe, this is yet to be done. Meanwhile, Lei Police Boss Chris Kunyanban said Lei Police are ready to assist the COVID-19 response team where security is concerned.
So we will be assisting them to make restriction more tight as we go by. But I'm still waiting for them to come to us so that they give us the scope and how we will fit into our system in terms of coronavirus. But yes, our men are ready to assist where possible.
Lay residents are being urged to practice basic hygiene rules and to avoid close contact with others. Lucy Kopana, National MTV News, Lay.
The PNG Institute of Medical Research in Goroka, where COVID-19 testing has been done for the last 3 weeks, will be upscaling testing facilities once funding from NDOH is released to them. PNG IMR is no stranger to outbreak testing and research and have a team of dedicated scientists who have been carrying out COVID-19 testing in rotation and from today have received 17 samples for testing. PNG IMR Director Professor William Pommart, speaking to MTV News today, says the Goroka base can test below 500 samples daily. But in the case of an outbreak, Port Moresby and Medang will need to assist.
Prime Minister James Marape on Sunday announcing that PNG IMR will be upscaling testing facilities to its Port Moresby and Medang base in the next 2 weeks.
So PNG IMR is asked to relocate a facility into Port Moresby. We already have a quarantine facility established at 6 Mile, and we're looking into setting up relevant facilities across. So in the event that it hits us and expense, then those who identified will be picked up, placed in these quarantine facilities.
In Goroka at PNG IMR, another 7 samples have arrived for testing from mainly mining centres in the country. The testing takes around 3 hours, but for results coming into Goroka, it may take a day or 2 depending on logistics.
The guys from Lei, for example, sometimes they travel up with a sample, so it can come in the next 4 hours once they inform us. There's samples from Vanima, for example, took I think 2 or 3 days to get in. So a lot of people were calling us to wanting the results. We didn't have the samples, so we can't test it. So yes, but mostly it goes to CPHL and they send it out. Also, the courier, it goes to the courier. So when they bring it up, then it gets up. It usually takes about a day.
A team of 8 scientists working shifts for testing, something PNG IMR is not used to as they are a research facility. The component of staff working around the clock to be captured also in the IMR budget for COVID-19. Professor Pommart stating that the lead scientist conducting testing will have to train scientists based in Medang and Port Moresby.
That we have, say, 5,000 samples, then we won't be able to cope alone here in Goroka. And because we've got similar machines in Medang, in our facility in Medang, in our facility in Port Moresby with CPHL, so it is only proper that we also share the load and make sure that those facilities also are able to test. So what we will be doing is bringing scientists from CPHL as well as PNG IMR in Port Moresby, and scientists from Medang who are already familiar with the test for their own specific studies that they're doing. So they'll come here, just train on the specific standard operating procedures that we have here for COVID-19 and other flu.
200 scientists and nurses also out on sites collecting samples will also be captured in the budget. So how much exactly will be needed? Professor Pommart says initial training for Port Moresby and Medang will need 25,000 kina, but minor renovations of IMR labs and staffing will be captured in the expected 2 million kina they are supposed to receive this week from NDOH.
We need to fix our lab so that it doesn't have louvers. It has glass panels to prevent dust from destroying the machines. We also want to get new machines because of the 2 that we had, one got buggered up last week, so we have to send it to Sydney to get fixed. And it's only proper that we get a new one so that it's helping us to, once we do get a case, that we are able to continue to have the capacity to continue testing.
Time is of the essence as PNG IMR needs to also send the testing equipment down to Australia and also purchase a new one to assist in testing if there is an outbreak.
For renovation, that hopefully that will take up to 3 weeks. But for the new machine, that might take a bit longer since it's coming from Australia. For the old machine that we sent to be fixed, hopefully it's also just a month. One of the reasons that we are also going to Port Moresby and Medang is because both those sites have 2 machines.
Leaving the biggest question of when exactly the funding out from the 10 million kina released for COVID-19 will be released from the government to kickstart preparations of COVID-19 in the provincial centres. Adelaide Siraxkari, National MTV News, Goroka.
You're watching National MTV News. We'll be back with more after these messages. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. First to a developing story. Acting Health Secretary Dr. Paisen Dakulala, speaking to MTV News at 3 minutes past 6 o'clock this evening, explained that the results of testing of the single probable COVID-19 case will be announced by Health Minister Jelta Wong tomorrow. Dr. Dakulala advising that PNG IMR have sent the initial test results of this case and that Minister Wong will be making the announcement of the results tomorrow. The Secretary has called for the public to stay calm and continue to practice health hygiene to have the best chance of restricting the spread of the virus should a case be confirmed. Newcrest, the developer of Wafi, Golpu in Morbe and Lihir gold mine in New Ireland province, has closed its office in Port Moresby as Newcrest reviews arrangements for its employees given the spread of COVID-19. Newcrest Country Director Stanley Comont, in an email to business partners, advised that the closure is effective as of today and will last conclusively until 3rd of April.
With the announcement that all Newcrest employees will be staying away from their office in Port Moresby, they will be accessible via emails and mobile phones as they work remotely. Newcrest Country Director Stanley Comut said the action is consistent with the government and community efforts against the spread of coronavirus. Hours after Newcrest announced the closure of its office in Port Moresby, Chief Justice of Papua New Guinea, Segib Salika, issued directives to close off all national and district court houses throughout PNG starting tomorrow. This means there will be no court sittings or filing of documents until the 10th of May. All urgent police matters will be arranged with police and the court clerks, and only urgent applications for registration will be submitted online and will be registered with the assistance of few court officials. Thaklagunga, National MTV News.
Anglim South Walkie electorate MP Rumanjo Cooley is concerned that the District Services Improvement Program funding should be given according to the population size of an electorate. Cooley says 10 million kina is not enough to deliver services in big electorates that have larger populations. His electorate is one of the biggest in the country, which according to 2011 census figures has close to 200,000 people.
Cooley says the 10 million kina DSIP funding each year will not compensate enough to bring development into a big electorate such as Anglim South Wagi. Roads, bridges and infrastructure sector needs more funding. He said a 10 million kina alone could be used to complete a 10-kilometer road or a bridge, which will leave other sectors such as law and justice, health and education nothing.
Sectors na divided me go 500,000, 400,000, 200,000 and on nap come up in 10 million or 2 million or one project. No, listen, sectors are 10 million taso.
PNG is known for having incomplete roads and bridges. Some are due to landowner issues, while others are due to incomplete funding for contractors to complete the projects. Cooley says there are advantages of partnering with donor agencies to deliver services, but they cannot always rely on this strategy in the long run.
Please, me appeal to landowners who said you sleep close to the bridge, long road. Competition I must place.
Of the three electorates in Jiwaka, North Wagi electorate is the least populated with 40,000 people, yet basic services are nowhere to be seen and felt by the people. Jimmy electorate has 71,000 populations and still depends on air transport. Anglim South Walkie borders at least 3 provinces with a population size of close to 200,000 according to the 2011 national census.
Western Highlands border belong Anglim South Walkie, I'm stable Western Highlands, now stable Gulf province, now I'm stable Chimbu province. Now this is the 10 million starting belong up long Anglim, but not come long Kuchip, not come long Kuchip. Means na benem not go long East Gambia, not go long Manda.
Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
The destruction of road signs is pushing the Road Traffic Authority to spend more in keeping the signs on the roads. RTA Chief Executive Nelson Terema says not just that, but more importantly, road signs play a vital role in directing traffic and preventing accidents. Terema urged motorists not to ignore traffic signs and also for the public to take ownership by protecting it from vandalism.
Traffic signs are seen almost everywhere where roads are being built and used. There are over 50 different signs to direct motorists or pedestrians. The head of Road Traffic Authority says these signs must not be ignored.
Nowadays you will see that a lot of drivers, they don't follow road signs. Sometimes the road signs have been removed, destroyed, put gravity on top of it, which is unable for the driver to read or know what is happening ahead.
According to the RTA Chief Executive, replacing damaged traffic signs is becoming very costly for the government agency. Some signs are damaged by motorists while many are vandalized. RTA is digging its pocket to keep traffic signs on the road.
These road signs are very, very expensive to erect one. It costs more than $1,000 plus. Minimum is 1,000 and maximum is 4,000 for one sign alone.
While traffic signs are becoming expensive to replace, RTA is urging the public to take ownership of the signs. Terema says the signs play a vital role in preventing or avoiding possible accidents. He urged motorists to follow all traffic signs.
If there is a road sign being erected, we need to respect, we need to take ownership to look after those road signs. Because they are put there for a purpose, for the safety of the general public. As pedestrian or either as a passenger or as a driver.
Jack LaPava Jr., National EMTV News.
Schools in the Southern Highlands province have been urged to be accountable when using government subsidies. Governor William Powie said this while announcing the release of 5 million kina for the parent component for the 2020 academic year. This follows the approval of the 2020 Southern Highlands provincial budget by Treasury.
With the 2020 academic year in progress, Governor William Powie says the 5 million kina subsidy will now be paid directly to schools throughout the province. He says this is for elementary, primary, high school and TVET institutions. Powie says this is one of the provincial government's priority areas.
Of the 20.2 million we have appropriated, the Southern Highlands provincial government as of last week released and distributed to all the schools 5 million of the first 5 million of the 20.2 million that we have appropriated. So this 5 million that has been paid out, released, and I'm being advised by the administration and the officials.
The 5 million kina is part of the 22 million kina parent component from the National Education School Fee breakup. Governor Powie also confirmed receiving national government subsidy for the last quarter of 2019. Elementary schools will receive 594,000, primary schools 1.8 million, high schools 2.2 million, while recognized private institutions 17,000.
So there shouldn't be anybody in Southern Highlands, in all the schools, refusing to accept our children from the right to education in all the elementary schools. There are 393 elementary schools, 184 primary schools, 15 high schools.
With the Southern Highlands provincial government fulfilling its commitment for the education sector, the governor wants public servants through the Provincial Education Board to inspect schools and make necessary reports. He says this is vital so money is put for its intended purpose. Governor Powie warned school administrations and school boards.
I am now warning the school board of management, the principals that we are doing as government, doing our bit to release funds, and they must cooperate to accept the government policy of partnership, and that we must allow efficiency and accountability to take place in school administrations, be responsible, and that we do our part in ensuring that education system in the Southern Highlands and in fact in the country is restored.
Jack Lapava Jr., National EMTV News.
The establishment of new political parties and how these parties are run have been the center of debate for many years. PNG One Nation Party is one new party registered during the 2017 elections. The party only getting one candidate elected, the current Eastern Highlands Governor Peter Numu. For the next 3 days, the party is holding its national convention in Goroka, where the party policies will be finalized.
It's no secret that PNG political parties over the years have been heavily criticized for having startup parties that don't function until the national general election year. For PNG One Nation Party, they were one of the parties that was created during the last elections. The party holding its party convention in Goroka this week to finalize party policies and register members. In the last election, 41 candidates were endorsed by the party, and of that, only one was elected. Speaking today, Eastern Highlands Governor and Parliamentary Leader Peter Numu stressed the importance of having policies and party constitutions in place to strengthen the young party.
You must go down, go get along, LLG. Let us grow this institution. Let us see that the party is functioning. Let us see that the party will influence. With the policies, will influence and drive the respective arms of government and the departments. And no one will mark around with the people and the government. You do the right thing for the people, and the party is to ensure that the policies are implemented and people see the change and development.
The party hoping to develop its 4 key policies on economic empowerment through agriculture and livestock, natural resource management, basic service delivery and effective public service, and legislative reforms.
You said you will come along, give him contribution to the party policies, you must be seen as registered members. So when you come up as a member, you may contribute, all of us. Me too, I will even though me party leader, but me must register too in said legislature. So now registration will go, I think me first man by me register.
Representatives from the Office of Integrity and Political Parties are also in Goroka to provide their input in the political party.
We want to see that the political party, Loyumi, must maintain compliance part to survive.
The convention is expected to end on Thursday with its finalized key policies. Adelaide Kari, National EMTV News.
Madang police have arrested and charged the Madang Deputy Provincial Administrator Paul Amera on 3 charges yesterday. Provincial Police Commander Acting Superintendent Manzuk Rubian says Mr. Amera was one of the suspects involved in the bribery case of Madang Governor Peter Yama. PPC Rubian says Paul Amera alleged to have conspired with Joe Jeffrey and Madang's Provincial Administrator Joe Kunda to bribe former Madang Governor James Yali. Mr. Amera was charged on charges including conspired to pervert course of justice, conspired to commit a crime and abuse of office. He was later released on a 3,000 kina police bail and will appear at the Madang District Court on the 27th of this month. And now looking at our finance news, the kina opened unchanged at $0.2925 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.285 $0.4729 Australian dollars, $0.2511 euro and 29.99 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading higher, coffee, cocoa and copper are closed lower, palm oil closed higher, crude oil is trading higher while copper closed the day lower. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 11,048.8 points higher. The ASX is trading at 355.01 points lower, and the All Ordinaries is trading at 329.41 points lower. You're watching National EMTV News. We'll bring you stories making headlines overseas when we come back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas, get home now while you still can. That's the New Zealand government's extraordinary message to Kiwis currently travelling overseas as countries go into lockdown and airlines cancel flights. It's believed 80,000 Kiwis could be abroad.
Home at last.
We're definitely worried that we might not make it, and we feel like we just got through by the skin of our teeth. So, yeah.
It was really scary. We was in India. We wanted to get back. Yeah, we feel the same. We want to get back to family.
And a call for other travellers to get back now.
If you're travelling, then it's very likely you're going to be cut off very shortly. And if you can get home, start coming home now.
All over the planet, planes are grounded as travel restrictions bite. Others, like this one to Auckland today, almost empty. The government says time is of the essence.
But plan A is to get them home now on commercial flights whilst they still exist.
How many Kiwis are we talking about here? How many people do you think there might be?
80,000 plus.
Sorry, what was that?
80,000 plus.
One News spoke to Kiwis living around the world today, heeding the call.
It was definitely very emotional, trying to decide whether to stay or go, but the sudden push to leave ASAP is, it's been quite tough, but it's definitely necessary.
Well, I booked a flight about an hour ago and I'm coming home on Saturday, so all going well. Very quick sort of move,
6 weeks into a South American tour, these Kiwis are in lockdown in Peru.
Yeah, we want to come home, but how do we do it? Tell us how to do it, and we'll be on whatever plane we can get on.
At Auckland Airport today, tourists struggling to get back to their homes too.
So we searched today like 5 hours for a flight, and there wasn't so many options.
We don't know what to do, and nobody can help us because nobody knows what to do.
And strong advice not to leave the country either.
For Kiwis not to travel, get rid of any non-essential travel.
Anzac Day services in Gallipoli cancelled today.
This is about public safety and the health and well-being of our veterans communities and the families who attend these services.
The coronavirus causing extraordinary global disruption.
Australia too ordering its people to come home and to stay indoors for the foreseeable future. New strict rules and measures are in place for Australians.
Have been grounded.
Do not travel abroad.
And if they're abroad already, come home now.
This is a once-in-a-100-year type event. We are going to keep Australia running. It won't look like it normally does.
The Prime Minister declaring a human biohazard emergency, giving the government extra powers to respond. As churches, mosques and others who host non-essential indoor gatherings with more than 100 people were told to shut their doors. Visits to aged care residents strictly limited to and kept short. Only one visit with up to 2 people allowed a day. There will be just one national Anzac service in Canberra. All others, including those in Gallipoli and Europe, cancelled. Despite growing calls for schools to close, they and workplaces will stay open.
Whatever we do, we've got to do for at least 6 months. So that means the disruption that would occur from the closure of schools around this country, make no mistake, would be severe.
People told to stop panic buying and that there's enough to go around.
I can't be more blunt about it. Stop it.
But amid the anxiety, hope. With a coronavirus vaccine more than a year away, researchers at Queensland University claim they've found a viable treatment. They're hoping to have patients enrolled in a nationwide trial by the end of the month.
Up next, some sporting updates in Chukai Sports. Don't go away.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. In Rugby League, Papua New Guinea Rugby Football League has today suspended all its nationwide rugby league competitions, including the Digital Cup, due to the widespread coronavirus. In a press conference today, Chairman Sandy Saka says the coronavirus is a serious threat worldwide, and PNGRL, in consultation with relevant authorities and other stakeholders, is taking precautionary measures to address it.
After a careful consideration of the unfolding COVID-19 situation globally, PNGRL has made the decision to suspend all rugby league programs in the country effective as of today.
It's unprecedented times with the worldwide epidemic of the COVID-19 virus that is affecting all the countries in the world. All the countries and different organizations have taken different responses to addressing or mitigating the consequences of the virus. In Papua New Guinea, the PNGRL has been in close consultation with our partners and stakeholders, including the relevant authorities in the country, to ensure that we play our part in mitigating the dire consequences of the virus that is affecting the world generally.
PNGRL will be advising all its rugby league competitions, national franchises and programs on the necessary protocols in ensuring that recommended measures are exercised for the welfare of its players, officials, fans and families are safeguarded against the threat of the COVID-19 virus during this trying period.
So today I want to announce that the Papua New Guinea Rugby League Board today suspended all its nationwide rugby league competitions, including the Digital Cup, all our affiliate leagues, the national schools, and all domestic and international rugby league programs, including international representative programs, until Friday, June the 5th, 2020. All rugby league programs are suspended indefinitely.
He says SP hunters that returned from Brisbane will go through proper medical checks and procedures.
As an international travelling team, we feel we had to exercise due diligence and prudence, and it's part of our overall strategy to show that we as a sport are considerate of the issues that are happening, and we are taking proactive measures to ensure that our players, the welfare of our players, their families, and our people in this country are protected. So
he says there are consequences for those affiliated clubs under PNGRL that do not comply with PNGRL's decision to stop all competitions in the country.
Something we have to do, and we encourage all teams and organizations that have people traveling in to take that necessary precaution so we protect our people in our country.
Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
All sporting facilities in Port Moresby and throughout Papua New Guinea have been suspended for 4 weeks by PNG Sports Foundation as the government-led agency for sports, in consultation with other relevant agencies, by taking preventative measures to counter the risk of coronavirus. PNG-SF Executive Peter Chamalili Jr. said the decision would not be taken lightly, as Papua New Guineans are very passionate about sports. Godwin Eki reports.
Now in tune with the Prime Minister's address to the nation and its recommendation to limit mass gatherings, PNG Sports Foundation, in consultation with national federations and the Health Department, are taking extra precautions by limiting mass gatherings at all sporting venues in Port Moresby and around Papua New Guinea. A meeting conducted yesterday with representatives from national federations, PNG Olympic Committee and other stakeholders of sports at the Bisini Sports Precinct, and the recommendation to suspend sports for 30 days effective immediately was fully endorsed by those present. CEO Peter Chamalili announced that sporting clubs, national federations and valued sporting fraternity that the usage of all government sporting facilities in Port Moresby and throughout the country are suspended for 4 weeks until such time the Sports Foundation completes a risk assessment with health officials on the preparedness of sporting affiliates to manage and deal with the potential of the coronavirus. Now, mass gatherings through sporting events are highly visible events that has the potential for serious public health consequences if proper measures are not taken and planned carefully. Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
And to cricket, PNG Barramundi's captain Asad Vala hopes the national team can travel and promote and play cricket nationwide. At the moment, according to coach Joe Dawes, the facilities are only in Port Moresby.
After a friendly T20 match against a local team from Kirakira village, which resulted in a narrow 26-run victory, the national team's captain wants to do more.
Hopefully this is first of many. If we can do that and promote the game of cricket around different communities, different villages, it'd be good. Not just the central, but if we can go out to other centers and promote the game and play games like this, would be good. Promoting the game of cricket around the country.
The local team, backed by their villagers, put up a great match against the Barras, pushing the match right down to the wire.
I think they've got a lot of good players, a lot of potential. It's just about nursing and getting there to the end. But it's a really good game. They tested us all throughout the game with the bowling and with the fielding, and they came out strong with the batting as well. So we need to dig deep and get the win in the end with the bowlers. So it was really good for the boys.
The Barras play host to several one-day internationals on home soil, and while there is a possibility of hosting the matches in other parts of the country to promote the game, it can't happen due to a lack of cricket infrastructure.
In June we've got four one-day internationals here in Moresby. In September we'll have another series here in Moresby. July we've got the CPNG Smash again, which is our version of the Big Bash, I guess, which we're really looking forward to. Just in Moresby at this stage. We'll still do our tour at the end of the year, the Academy Tour. I think we're going to Popondetta this time. We went to Lei the last 2 years. But at this stage, because the facilities are really only here in POM, the games will be here.
2020 is an exciting year for the country as it, for the first time, takes part in the T20 Cricket World Cup. Bradley Valenaki, National EMTV Sports.
Chukai Sports continues with more after these messages. Stay with us.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome back to Chukai Sports. In this uncertain sporting time, everything is open for discussion, whether or not a competition can or should go ahead, who loses out and who's responsible for making that final decision. Rugby finds itself in this position as it goes about trying to come up with a possible replacement series for the suspended Super competition. The latest news just in: the Crusaders, who arrived from Australia last weekend, are now in self-isolation.
Of coronavirus just got very real for New Zealand Rugby, with a staff member isolated and others in the Wellington head office now working from home.
At this stage we think there's a very, very low risk of the person having coronavirus. We also think there's a very, very low risk of any transmission at this stage.
Robinson is quick to point out the staff member hasn't been in contact with any of the Super Rugby sides. The Rugby Union, its TV broadcaster and Players Association are in constant contact and planning to stage a local derby super competition which could begin in a few weeks.
We'd like to think we're in a position to share that information by the weekend if possible.
The Players Association is adamant its members support turning out. The association says there's no pressure from its TV rights holder to put games on.
We all know we've got a responsibility to our industry to do the very best we can to minimise the collateral damage as a result of the virus. We would be naive if we didn't think that we're going to be commercial impacted as a result of this, but like everything we've done in the past, in the good times and the bad, if you like, we sit around the table and we'll work our way through it.
Nichols says clearly they'll take direction from the Ministry of Health, which could in the end take the return to play decision out of rugby's hands. Depending on NZR's commercial arrangements, government intervention could potentially ease their contractual and financial headaches.
I don't think commercially it'll make a lot of difference, in terms of who actually makes the call. But sometimes if you're sitting on the fence, to have the leadership like we have got with the government, where they're able to make a definitive call or put in place definitive protocols or guidance, that really makes the decision quite obvious, really helpful for everyone involved.
Nichols says rugby wants to plan to be ready to go should health restrictions be lifted. Although that's another factor, like most at this point in time, that remains firmly up in the air.
And that ends Chukai Sports. The weather details coming up next.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Money Plus. With you always.
A look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. Fine weather in Port Moresby, Daru, Kerema and Alotau, a shower or two in Popondetta. In the Mamasa region, fine weather in Lei and Wau, cloudy with a few showers later in Medang, a shower or two in Wewak and mostly fine weather in Vanimo. In the Niugini Islands region, cloudy with a shower or two in Lorengau, Kokopo, Urbau and Buka. Cloudy weather, although fine in Kavieng, showers then fine in Kimbe. And in the Highlands region, showers then morning fog in Mount Hagen, cloudy weather followed by a few showers in Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabek.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by Money Plus. With you always.
And that's been the news, sport and weather for today, Wednesday, the 18th of March 2020. On behalf of the entire MTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.